Welcome to Talking Tech, the podcast all about technology. So in this particular episode, I am joined by the wonderful Ben Crocker. Lovely to have you in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. And it's an absolute pleasure. I know we've worked previously in the past together. Now, currently Director of Product Management at Cyberhaven. So we are going to go into Cyberhaven in a little bit of time. But actually, I want to learn a little bit more about yourself and obviously tell the audience all about your previous experience. Now, obviously, we previously worked together at Tanium and FireEye. Looks like we've kind of followed a little bit of the same path. Yeah. But you've also worked at Juniper, Palo Alto, Venari, a few kind of really big giants there. Talk to me about your journey, though, and how you sort of ended up in the cybersecurity world. Was it something you wanted to do, or
complete and utter accident? Like if you could imagine the job version of tripping and falling into something, this is what I did. I come originally, so I am British, but I live in the Netherlands now. I come from Cambridge. When I finished uni, and I studied geology, so nothing to do with anything I'm doing now. My brother worked at a service provider that was based in Cambridge at the time. I needed a summer job. I went and worked there in the summer. That was, kind of midway maybe through the kind of the bubble, the internet bubble as it was then, and they paid really well. I know that's the worst excuse for taking a job and doing it, but 6-7 years later, I was still there. I'd moved from what I started kind of doing dial-up customer support into working in the network operations center. There we did a bunch of security and network related stuff for both of those, and they moved my whole department from there to Amsterdam. I was early in my 20s. They said, "Hey, we need people to go and do it. We'll pay. Do you want to go?" It was a hard decision. And actually that linked me into Juniper. I did a lot of work on the backbone network of the organization I was there, a lot of Juniper routers and stuff in there and firewalls. And then because I'd done so much work, Juniper's head office was in Amsterdam, and that's how I moved in. And that was in the time they took over NetScreen, which meant I was doing firewall related stuff, so security. Yeah. They had endpoint stuff as well. I got involved in that, and that kind of moved me through the organizations into where I am now. Oh, brilliant.
It's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes it is that draw, isn't it? It's like, well, money versus, experience and all those kind of things. But once it sort of pulls you in, it is fascinating, isn't it? The amount of different directions you can go in and do certain things. I think it's really fascinating.
It really is what's kept me doing it, is that, our business...
So you're going to say the money?
Well, no, I mean, of course, I have to pay the bills. The thing I guess that keeps you getting up in the morning is that every day is a little bit different. Our whole business has reinvented itself God knows how many times over the years. Now, of course, we're going to talk about data security. That's the big thing. It started in the network. We started then, we were looking at old school firewalls. Then it was application awareness, and then it was malware detection, and then it was that. And now we're into the kind of the data age, I guess.
Moves so quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, I love that. I love the story. And quite often that I don't think I've ever had a guest on the podcast that said, I intentionally moved into that direction, or I deliberately studied this to move into that. It kind of draws you in, and then it's fascinating. So talk to me also about kind of you as a person and your passion. What do you like to do outside of work? Because it can get very busy. We don't tend to have a lot of spare time. What do you like to do?
Yeah, this is going to be the worst answer in the world. Actually, I really do enjoy tech. Mm-hmm. I have two or three kind of ongoing side projects of things that either that may never turn into anything, but are helping me learn about what's going on and what's doing. Maybe some of the stuff that my kids get into. My kids are into social media so much and all the other things they're doing. And so I've looked into some of that stuff. I've built a couple of apps. None of them have gone anywhere, but it was fun for me to look and see how that works. Yeah. And it kind of ties in at least a bit into what I do for work. So I play around with tech. I do a lot of that stuff. I play sport. I ride my bike. I try and keep a bit fit. But otherwise, honestly, the good thing and the bad thing about our business is that it runs 24/7, 365. So there's always someone that wants something.
No, I'd absolutely love that. So again, a little bit of a word of wisdom here, but what would you say back to your kind of 18-year-old self if you could go back in time?
Oh, don't do it. So many things. Don't do it. No, you know what? I genuinely don't believe in regrets. There's nothing that I'd say that we absolutely need to change. I do think if I had a bit of knowledge about focus, I think I maybe tried to do too many things at a time, and I didn't focus down. And actually, it probably is still a bit of a problem in my work where I'm doing 10 things at once, and I probably should be trying to do one or two. So I think, trying to pick a bit of a focus, think in advance, but maybe also not take life too seriously. I think I did a lot of that as well. So I think if I could go back and say, just, you're doing fine. Don't worry about it. Just focus on this thing. Do that one thing, do it right, move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Do you know what? I like that. And I also think, I think it's a good trait to have, kind of spinning multiple plates at any particular time. I'm a big believer in that. And I think also, when you go into a role and sometimes it's busy, it's important to be able to do multiple things at once, because you don't ever get that luxury. I know we had a conversation earlier. You don't tend to get that luxury, do you, of sort of going, right, okay, I'm going to do this project and then I'm going to start that one and I'm going to kind of finish this piece. Most of the time you've kind of got, well, I'm still halfway doing this one and I need to do that and I need to do this. So I think that's actually a really good trait to have.
Welcome to being a product manager. I don't think I've ever finished any of my projects, really, not to my my thoughts of what I would like to have delivered. Yeah. Priorities change, certainly in our kind of business, startup type companies. Again, we've worked in a few of them there. Yeah. Priorities change, the business change, the whole ecosystem changes so regularly that there's no guarantee tomorrow the thing that you thought was important is going to be today is going to be important tomorrow. So it's that flexibility. We kind of preach it to our engineering teams, and I think sprints this and agile that, and then the rest of us think that we don't have to do that.
How
kind of stuff.
Important is it? Yeah, which it was priority number one.
Yeah.
So we are going to go into Cyberhaven, which both of us are obviously very passionate about, and we'll kind of go into that in a second. But first, I would love to understand, you've heard of obviously Room 101, where people put something that they, I don't know whether I want to say dislike or want to go in the bin and never see again, but tell me about the two things that you've kind of picked to put in the bin.
And I'm sure that other people have mentioned these, so I apologise already if I'm going to go over. I think there's two things, and I'm going to be quite business specific. I'll go cybersecurity on it. I think number one, acronyms. We love our acronyms. Everything's a 4-letter word, a 4-letter acronym of this, that, and the other. And I think we think everybody knows them. When you go and look at them, half of them mean the same thing anyway. CSPM, DSPM, EDR, EPP, all of those things like that. Just use a sentence, actually describe it, use real words. And we wonder why people can't or find it hard to engage with our business and our products. Yeah. And when 50% of the things that we say are acronyms, and you need to go back and read a dictionary or whatever to work out what it is, just stop doing it. Yeah. Just use words, talk about stuff. We'd all find ourselves and everybody else would find us much more approachable if we just use terms. So acronyms would be number one.
Definitely agree with that. I mean, I think even when you're coming into the cybersecurity industry, a lot of people tend to presume that you know what the acronyms are. And it's almost as if people are scared to go, what does DSPM stand for? What does DRP stand for? All of these little gotchas. And you're very right. A lot of companies use the same acronyms, but they mean completely different things. So I am totally with you on the acronym front, and it's almost like you do need a whole encyclopedia just to work out what do all these mean and what do they refer to.
And to your point, you'd need Cyberhaven's version of that encyclopedia or somebody else's, because when we say it, we mean slightly different things because we tailor it to how we think about it. So I'd love to get rid of acronyms.
Fantastic. So that one will go in the bin. What else do you have on your list?
Yeah, this one might be controversial. We've all done, so it's trade shows. Yep. We've all done so many of these. We've all gone out there. We've all put whatever it is that's the freebie that we wanted to give her today. It's a stress ball. It's a pen. It's a pair of socks. It's a T-shirt. It's a whatever it is. We've all got stacks of them somewhere at home, or we've thrown them out straight away, or we've given them to our kids. Now, that's the one benefit of it. Sometimes your kids like it when you come home.
Do go on a little bit of a scout, don't you, to see what you can pick up. Right. Yeah.
But I really think, I know as our companies, we all invest huge amounts of money in these things. We send people from all over the world to go to these places. And then we expect people to turn up and then talk to us about this stuff and have meaningful, real conversations, standing at this little booth with a couple of chairs and a screen. All of them are always really hot, by the way. I don't know how that can be the case in these huge buildings that's boiling hot. And then I just wonder, I apologise, Jan, the marketing guy, is here. I'm sorry, Jan. How we justify that in the conversion, and it's painful for everybody.
Yeah.
I'd rather, I don't know, go to a coffee shop, sit down and actually have a conversation with someone, spend 5 minutes talking to them, get to know about what they care about. And then I can tell them, even if it's not about our product, I can tell them about what I think is right and what's there. And we don't all have to wear the same T-shirt, and we don't all have to go to the same thing, and we don't all have to give out stress balls or whatever it is. So there's got to be a better way. I don't know what it is. I mean, I think
Agreed.
We just talked about COVID and how COVID changed the world for some of these things. We kept selling our products and we kept having meetings when we couldn't do face-to-face when we did those things.
Business still ran, didn't it?
Right. Time kept ticking. People got older. The business kept working. I wish we'd taken a leaf out of that Times book. And now trade shows are coming back. For the travel, sometimes it's nice. You get to go some places. But for the actual show and all of those things, once you've done one, you've done 10, you've done 100 of those things, man, it gets painful. So, I don't know what the answer is, but I'd love to be able to put them in the box too.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, I mean, I think some trade shows, particularly some that run in London, a lot of it tends to be almost like an industry get-together than actual quality, and there's so much effort, planning, all of everything that goes into it to kind of produce those. So I do agree with you in that sense. I think sometimes the right answer is getting meaningful conversations in front of people that, backwards and forwards, what are you looking for? What are your requirements? What problems does it solve? And so on and so on. So I think that's what we need more of. We need more decent conversations. Yes, the brand awareness is great and you get a lot of people there, but I totally agree with you. I think there's got to be a better way of...
One extra addition, and this would be a call to action for our whole industry. The last 2 or 3 of those I've been to, students. I've had tons and tons of students working, studying ICT and looking for those and looking for insight into that.
Yeah.
As a whole business type, we should be going to their institutions and looking for them because we want them to come and fill jobs. We have problems getting people to do all kinds of job in our business. If we want people to fulfill the need that we've got, we should be going there and not having them come to us. Now, they might be coming to us at those things because they want the free pens and the stress balls and all the other stuff. But the flip side of that is we should be going there and getting them, whether that's internships or whatever it is. We need talent and we need to keep getting talent. And I think we should, if the trade show is not the right place to do that, we should be going to them and making them feel wanted, right, to come into the business. So that's the other part. We take that bit out of the box and put it in a different box. I like that. And again, for that very reason, I think there is a time and a place. And, I think it just could be a little bit smarter sometimes. So definitely with you on that one. So next things, obviously, we're here to talk about Cyberhaven. Both of us, having been so passionate about it, obviously, we both work for Cyberhaven at the moment. So I just wanted, especially for any of the audience that haven't heard of Cyberhaven at the moment, it was founded in 2016 by 5 PhD students, which, again, I absolutely love. You just spoke about, kind of talent and, that expertise. So Christian Zamfir, Volodymyr Kuznetsov, George Kandia, Radu Banabic, and Vitaly Chipin, and hopefully I have mentioned everybody's name properly there. The impressive thing for me, and we've obviously both worked in technology, is finding an organization that has the right technology, that is exciting, that is important, that solves a lot of things. The impressive facts from me, I think, triple-digit growth, and it's now valued at over 1 billion. That's impressive figures, especially dependent on the time that it's been around. But you've worked for some big giants. Why Cyberhaven for you? So it's a good question. It is a good question. Actually, I think there are 2 things. One, I have a mutual friend of ours, Chris, who worked in the company, who pitched me the idea, and we both know Chris, and he was passionate about the concept as well. Mm-hmm. So that made it easy that someone that was in the company was saying to me, hey, this is a good place and this is the product. But the pitch he gave me was about a change in attitude towards like cybersecurity. Yeah. We both, again, we worked at Tanium, we worked at FireEye. They were looking at very kind of specific things. FireEye very specifically looking at like, exploits and detonation, all those things, like the rarefied air of cybersecurity, 0 days and all of that stuff. Yeah. And actually, it turned out, in my mind, when the idea of Cyberhaven was to pitch, all of a sudden we were looking at the thing we actually cared about. Yeah. It wasn't 0 days. It wasn't exploits on the endpoint. It wasn't all of those, phishing emails and those things. What were they trying to get? And if you started thinking about what they were trying to get by doing those things, what did we have to protect as opposed to what did we have to defend against? Yeah. It was just a different view. And that really made me think differently about our whole business. So the fact that it is purely focused on data, that we're not thinking about whether it was the Chinese or the Koreans that were looking at it, that it wasn't a 0-day exploit in Windows XYZ. It was the thing they're going for is this. If you know where it is and you know what it is and you know how much of it you've got, then you've got a much better chance of being able to actively protect it. And you can see the gaps in the rest of your security by knowing where that's moving. Yeah. And that whole thing just changed my view on what we were trying to do. Yeah. And so that's why it was appealing. It was a different view. It was a change of idea. And I still think we're focusing on the right thing, that the end goal of all of those other things that we're looking at, the thing that we're trying to protect, call it the crown jewels, whatever it is the data. Yeah. So focus on that and you've got a much better chance of understanding what's really going on. So it was that made a difference to me. It made sense. Yeah.
And it needs to be, us both having worked in tech for many, many years, you've got to believe in the technology to be able to sell, to talk about it, to be confident and to actually believe in the solution moving forward. So I absolutely, I really love that. Again, for anybody out there, Cyberhaven's AI and data security platform unifies DSPM, DLP, insider risk and AI security to protect data wherever it lives and travels, and whether that's across endpoints, cloud, on-prem, SaaS and AI tools. Now, again, I think that's really important because if we go right back and we look at data security, as you mentioned, it's changed so much over the years. So I think it's a very powerful message. Again, from your point of view, we've started speaking about, Cyberhaven and what that means. Yeah. Talk to me about data lineage, which I know is very important from a Cyberhaven's perspective.
Yeah, and this was another part of the kind of hook for me in the platform. And I think the thing that you mentioned, that the founders, the way they took this kind of, of course, the funding they started with came from the DARPA challenge that they won when they did those things. Like you can equate data lineage exactly like you would to your like familial lineage, right? You have parents, they have parents, they have parents, all of those things. But add into it when we look at data, that not just the parents, but where they are. So like their geographic location, or in our case, their location inside your network or your infrastructure. Yeah. What they look like, so what's actually in the data. We'll talk a bit more maybe in a bit about not just that not being traditional DLP, but that being kind of contextual. Yeah. And I guess the layering of that context, those different elements into it, meant that you didn't have to rely on old school DLP. I'm not going to badmouth DLP because we work in the business, but it didn't quite do what it promised to go and do, and we've been looking for a solution for a really long time. Now, I'm not saying that lineage is the only thing that solves it, but it's a big part of that, where readily available information about that data can help you understand why it's there, what it is, who should be looking at it. Yeah. And applying rules on top of that is so much easier than saying, hey, I need a regex that I'm going to go and look for a credit card number, which only works half the time. And even if it did work, then is it really what it... So all of those things. So I think the fact that it meant that data security became kind of context aware because of lineage, and these many layers of lineage of not just it was the parent of this, but it's this location to this location, or it's this type of data, or it's this file type, or these things. Yeah. It just meant it was so much easier to really understand what was happening combine all those things together. Now, it's a lot of data, and the secret sauce is how we did that in the back end of the platform. The guys you mentioned, Vova, Vitali, Radu, those guys did an amazing job because we still use that concept. So much of the rest of the platform is changed, but that idea of lineage, that base infrastructure is still there, and it's passing the test of time, which is impressive in our kind of business. So lineage is that context-aware capability that's important.
And I think again, from the demos that I've actually seen, you tend to find so many customers that talk about, look, we've got a leaver, somebody who's leaving the organization. We want to find out, what they're doing or, where they're sending their data. Well, actually, a lot of the time, it's too late. They've already taken files. They've already sent things home. They've already, sent them to certain things. I think it's really important that, again, from a demo's perspective, when customers actually see what users are doing, they kind of have that almost like, light bulb moment. Oh, well, why are they sending this there? What are they doing here? Why are they doing all these things? And then applying the context to it. So I think sometimes people are a little bit like, I'm going to bury my head in the sand and not appreciate it. They actually knew what was going on in their environment. They take a different look. So I love that kind of data lineage story.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the number of times we've had people say, well, how is that possible? Right? And we've got a policy for that. Or doesn't our firewall stop, or whatever product they've got. And I think intentionally or unintentionally, unintentional data leakage is just as prevalent as, or more prevalent probably than intentional stuff, where people just do things and they'll say, but I've always done it like that. Of course, I always put it on a USB stick and
doesn't help the video, does it? It doesn't, it
right.
doesn't help the...
So I think lineage makes such a difference for those things, that you can see those connections and understand how you got from here and got to there. And over here it was I'll use one of our demo things. Over here it was a Salesforce download, and over here it's an Excel spreadsheet. But the content and the context is the same. That makes a really big difference.
I love that. So do you think data security is a lost cause?
Ooh.
Big question.
I think it would be easy to say yes, because there's so much data out there. We generate so much of it, and we have so little knowledge, honestly, into a lot of cases. But actually, I think no. I do think AI, we're going to talk about that, I'm sure, in a moment, that the elephant in the room is meaning that we're generating a lot more data, but the flip side is it gives us capability to control it equally well, assuming we apply that AI right and we do those things. Another thing Cyberhaven is working on. So I think, no, I don't think it's a lost cause. I think we've still got a lot of work to do. I think we still don't do the basics of a lot of things about data right. And we can have super technical products and all the AI stuff that we want, but if our users don't know, in a lot of cases, that you shouldn't put this thing in an email and send it to someone external, then all the tools in the world aren't going to prevent that, the one way that they've got to go and do that. So I think, no, it's not a lost cause, but I think we do need to focus on some of the basics as well as all the great technological things that we're building to go and do that. And I think in the end, a lot of our problems are not machine-based problems. I'll use the acronym. It's a PEBCAC problem. The problem exists between keyboard and chair. It's a person problem, and if we were to focus a bit more on them, I think we'd have better success overall.
Yeah, and it has historically. You mentioned that kind of DLP, data security, project. People kind of, I think it sends a shiver up their spine. So a lot of the time, having a tool that does make things easier, having that visibility is so important. Couple of last questions, and we're going to go to a little bit of a challenge for you. What is the biggest problem with the cybersecurity industry in your eyes?
Oh, apart from acronyms there's. I think maybe there's two parts to it. I do think the kind of back to basics mentality is a thing that we're not very good at doing. We're constantly trying to move forward onto the next big shiny thing. Right now it's AI. I'm not sure that AI actually is a different data security problem to the one we had before. We just didn't focus on it well enough. I do think it's the scale of the problem is going to increase. We're talking about machine speed now instead of human speed, which means we've got a different kind of problem to solve from that aspect. But same problem, our data that we had before that we didn't know what it was and we didn't know if it was really important to us is still going to places where we don't know what they're doing with it and we don't know where they're storing it. Yeah. So, those problems didn't change. So I think, a problem we've got is focus. We haven't focused on the basics and we haven't done those well. I think the other thing that we like to make data security look like it's really hard. Like if I can do it, like if I can work in this business, then, I'm not a rocket science or a rocket surgeon or whatever it is you want to call it. If I can get to the position where I am in this business, then I'm pretty sure anyone can. We're just not very good at teaching them again. We haven't been telling them what's out there. We haven't been explaining to them in terms that are relatable to them. In a lot of the businesses that you and I have both worked with, like today's IT or today's information security guy is yesterday's IT engineer, right? They took that IT department and they turned them into the security department. And the education and the information that they need to be able to do that isn't there. And I think our platforms don't make it easy for them. Yeah. We assume a level of knowledge that just isn't there. So I think they're probably our focus isn't great. And I think our relatability, our accessibility to the average person is terrible as well. And it's a problem for everybody at home, in your office, everywhere.
Absolutely.
We are not great at that. So I think, those two things would be the two biggest problems I talk about. Now, of course, there are 100 other problems that are out there. Yeah. State actors attacking us, all of those, lack of, accountability, all of those kind of things. But I think in the end, if we focus on those two, we'd be in a better state.
Absolutely. No, completely agree. And I think you've just mentioned obviously about what problems. I think, it's very important when we're talking to C-level or any organisation really about the problems that Cyberhaven solves as a technology. So I've got a few here that again, I've kind of noted down. Data sprawl increases costs and risks. Theft and leaks go undetected. Risky insiders mishandle data and shadow AI creates new risks. So again, I think it's, whenever we're looking at a specific technology, I think it's important for us to kind of go, yes, it does. It has all these features and functionalities, but actually what are we looking to solve? So I think that's really, really important. My last question for you, and I've got a couple of stats here as well. Yep. I think it's important, again, to look at, where technology is going, where things are driving, and again, where kind of Cyberhaven fits into that. So 2 really interesting facts that we've noted here. Global data is expected to reach 394 zettabytes by 2028, and it's up from just 2 zettabytes in 2010, which is, for me, just absolutely staggering. So again, I think Cyberhaven is in that, perfect opportunity to help with that visibility of it. And finally, 80% of companies estimate that between 50% and 90% of their data is unstructured, meaning it's essentially invisible to all of their security tools, which again, I find very difficult to believe. So brilliant facts here. So it leaves me just really quickly to say, I know we're going to go into a little challenge for you very, very quickly before we finish this episode. But finally here, obviously, you're going to be over at InfoSec, which is coming up very, very soon. Yep. For anybody listening out there, come along, speak to Ben, speak to the rest of the EMEA team, join us. But I think, definitely worthwhile coming along, having a chat with the EMEA-wide team and just understanding really what Cyberhaven do. So just finally, really, just to leave that challenge with you, you've heard of the Tower of Hanoi. I am going to give you the challenge to see if you can get all of the discs from one peg to the other. I'm going to time you. You have, I say 4 minutes. I'm sure you can do it a lot quicker, but off you go.
All right. So I'm going to move to the side just a little bit because I need a bit of space.
Right. You have 4 minutes. Go. And again, no pressure, because I know lots and lots of people are hoping that you don't beat them. But I'm super confident that I think you may. Oh, wow.
Oh, no, I messed that one up. Yes, okay, I need to go there. There we go. No, I messed it up again. Oh, no.
It's so much worse when it's being filmed.
It is.
Oh, look, there we go.
No, I've got it wrong. No. Yes, I've got it right. No, I've got it wrong. There we go. Now I've got it right. Haha.
Wow. So anybody that's currently at the top of the leaderboard, you should be very worried right now.
There.
Oh, there we go. And 57 seconds. Look at that. Under a minute. So I think that means, Ben, that you're officially at the top of the leaderboard.
I'll come back and do it. I'm pretty sure I could do that faster because now such a shame.
We'll do a retake. But yeah, I'm not going to say the name, but he has now replaced you on top of the leaderboard. So there we go. So finally, thank you so much for being in the studio, Ben.
Thank you for having me.
Cyberhaven, very, very important to both of us. But loved having you. Hopefully we'll do another one soon.
I would really enjoy that. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks again for watching. Check out the episode coming soon.